Welcome, my name is Per Sund and I work as a teacher, educator and researcher in Learning for Sustainable Development. This presentation is about sustainable development and learning for sustainable development. And the presentation is about what is sustainable development, what is learning for sustainable development, some examples from different projects, how can I work with learning for sustainable development, and what about the future. Because the aim is quite simple. A good, fair, environmentally healthy world for everyone. It's easy to understand, but how do we get there? We think that learning for sustainable development is the way we can use. The most highly educated part of the world's population is the one affecting the world's environment most negatively. That was said by Charles Hopkins. He's a UNESCO chair about teacher education globally. The logical consequence of this statement is that we need to have changed education. We don't need more of the same, because this education has not led us towards a more sustainable future. Many teachers, educators believe that knowledge leads to better attitudes and attitudes leads to behavior change. But research has shown that this is not working. These relations are not causal. You have to work with knowledge in action from the beginning. This will not be automatically done in school. You have to use the knowledge to make change. The most common used definition of sustainable development is the one from Brundtland Commission from '87. The sustainable development is development that meets the needs of present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And sustainable development has three dimensions. The social sustainability, which is about to build a long-term stable society. Ecological sustainability is about preserving the planet, ecological resources. And economic sustainability, the long-term household, human and material resources in a fair way. Sustainable development is a societal process. It changed the society from the present towards a sustainable future. At the individual level, at the same time, we need to practice sustainable development abilities. We are educating the society towards a sustainable future while we are learning in schools for a sustainable future. We are doing this by using knowledge in action. But remember, there are many ways towards the future, so include the students from the beginning. There's not only one way to go. The difference between environmental education and learning for sustainable development is that environmental education thought that environmental problems is due to a lack of knowledge. And it starts in science, and often the discussion about environmental problems is about what nature can stand. It's a conflict between human and nature. While learning for sustainable development makes environmental and development issues more political, they are solved in discussions. That's why we have Paris agreements and other international policies. And the environmental and development issues are conflicts between human interests. They are about different ways to value and approach the world. For instance, if you have a forest, you can see the forest as an economic resource, while others see the same forest as a place for biodiversity or a place for minority people to live in. So there's no global learning for sustainable development. The first writing in UN was about education, but in 10 years now we have talked about learning. And it could be regionally defined within the European Union or nationally through curriculums or locally on a school. And this may be the most important one. What does learning for sustainable development means to us in our school? Choose an interest you can work with and actually do something to achieve a goal that you can reach within your school or local community. So goal for teaching is to develop students' ability to critically evaluate different alternatives about environmental and development issues. The challenges are political issues which are handled in democratic processes, and the view on students is that they are active and critical thinkers. So sustainable development abilities, what are they then? look for information, critical thinking, analytical thinking, participation, decision making. We can call these together democratic communicative competencies. If you get the will to do something, to use these competencies, you can call it an action competence. But we can never forget to develop students' self-esteem and self-confidence. They need to also be empowered. Now we talked about the student, now we will talk about the whole school approach. The whole school approach has 6 different parts. It's about the school estate, it's about the community, it's about students, it's about the ethos, school ethos, it's about monitoring and also, of course, teaching and learning. We would have some examples now from the international arena, the transfer from environmental education to learning for sustainable development. First, we have a schoolyard from Madagascar. We have some tree plantations in Kenya. We have schoolyards in Indonesia with lots of fruits in. But we also compost, and we have all kinds of qualified equipment to measure our surroundings in India. And we have schoolyard design in Tanzania. Community development projects in Madagascar, where the students and the communities are building energy-saving stoves. The school estate is important, and it's almost the easiest place to start with. The school is a building that teaches, like the main slogan. The community is involved quite immediately because you need to get some hand with making recycle facilities and so on. The pupils are, of course, in the center. They need to have meaningful opportunity to participate in school-based decision makings. And when school starts to work with sustainable development like this, it becomes quite quickly a part of the school culture and ethos. It becomes a part of the school's identity. Monitoring and evaluations are cycles of planning, acting, observing, reflecting, and revising to develop a good practice, a better practice. And teaching of learning, and learning finally, is like the goal to get this type of thinking into the ordinary subjects. So it's a child-centered learning model, modes and strategies are applied. If you look at what kind of content can you work with, you can use the ecological footprint, a way to describe how our lifestyles affect nature. The parts of the ecological footprint is built-up land, which is about houses and roads. It's the carbon dioxide area, the area of shrubbery and forest we need to take up the carbon dioxide from our lifestyles. It's about forests, about buildings and paper, but also about fishery, cropland and pasture for food production. Everything can be approached from different perspectives. The big fish here thinks that the world is fair. The middle fish thinks it's quite fair, and the small one, it's quite unfair actually. So you have to be aware of from what point of view you're looking at the world. Are you the big fish, or are you the small fish, or are you somewhere in between? We have sustainable development goals which can guide us. There are 17 of them. The number 4 are we working with right now about education. But you can choose to work with number 1, it's about poverty eradication, or number 7, which is about clean energy, or number 12, which is about sustainable consumption. You choose the one that you think that you can do the best and also maybe achieve the certain goals. We are now doing target number 4.7, which is about that by 2030 ensure that all learners acquire knowledge and skills to promote sustainable development. Future, the reality of climate change and migration will continue. These issues are handled on international arenas through policies and curriculums and school plans. UNESCO will continue to work with the Global Action Programme and continue and stress peace more in the future. All countries are working with implementing the Learning for Sustainable Development in their curriculums. Learning for Sustainable Development is enhanced all over the world because the goal is common, a good, fair, environmentally healthy world for everyone. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you will be a part of the team for the future. Thank you.